I'm Jackie Hayes, founder and chief marketing strategist of Crayons and Marketers. We are a culturally sensitive content marketing company developing inclusive marketing strategies for ambitious brands seeking to meaningfully connect with multicultural and multi-generational audiences. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and we've invited a friend and inclusive marketing colleague to have a conversation about the role culture plays in multicultural marketing, specifically Hispanic marketing, and why Hispanic Heritage Month is more than a social media towel. Welcome, Marcela Gomez, CEO and founding partner of Culture Shift Team. Marcela, welcome.
Jacqueline, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about Hispanic Heritage Month.
Wonderful. Well, tell everyone just a little bit more about yourself and Culture Shift Team.
Absolutely. I am Marcela Gomez, and I have about 31, 32 years of experience working in the US Hispanic market, specifically in marketing, advertising, and community outreach. And I am one of the founding partners of Culture Shift Team. We started the company with two other partners in 2017, and we help corporations and organizations better understand and leverage the changing demographics in the marketplace and in the workplace. We do this through two divisions. One is the Multicultural Marketing and Advertising Agency, and the other one is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategy and Education for corporations who want to create a more inclusive culture, not only to attract employees, but also to make sure that their employees feel heard, seen, and appreciated within the companies. We work, I want to say, in all kinds of industries, right? From education to utilities, to companies who make tires, to companies who are one of the largest, sellers on the internet, etc. So we work with different things. Since we have two divisions, on the division of the Multicultural Marketing and Agency, we help companies truly understand who their target audience is. As marketers, we know that knowing your audience is the most important thing. And as Latinos, since we're talking about Hispanic Heritage Month, we are very diverse within the group of 60 million Latinos in the US, right? Acculturation levels, language preference, even the culture that we bring from our own countries is a little different. And then on the diversity, equity, and inclusion, these are large corporations, whether national or international, that want to set up a culture that really represents where they are and where we are right now in our society, how diverse the thought processes are, and just making sure that everyone feels seen and appreciated, which is what we all want to do in our lives, right? Making sure that everyone knows that that we have an opinion and that is valuable.
What have you found to be the biggest misconception about multicultural marketing?
The biggest misconception that I found when I started my first company in 2002, that was after 8 or 9 years of working in publishing houses, and I started a company, and that misconception is still true to this day, and that is that reaching a multicultural audience is only uh, a language factor. And that is that is one of the factors, but not the main factor, right? There's culture and there's context. One of the first things in 2002, when I started my first company, Hispanic Marketing Group in Nashville, Tennessee, the reason that I decided to launch into this was because of how much the Hispanic demographic and population had increased in Nashville. We had come from the 1990s, where it was a very, very small population. And then in the 2002, it grew tremendously. And I remember driving down Nolensville Pike, which was one of the biggest corridors in Nashville, and where a lot of the immigrants,
Right.
live. And there was a huge billboard in Spanish that it said, "Llame al 911, call 911." It was a perfect translation. There was nothing wrong with the translation, but there was no context. And I remember calling someone at the police department and saying, that doesn't mean anything to us. What does call 911 mean? And this person said, "What do you mean? You don't have police departments in your country?" And I'm like, "We do. We just don't call them with the number 911." That
Oh,
to
no.
me is the foundation of everything that we do at Culture Shift Team. And also the biggest misconception that companies and organizations, some still have, not everyone. There's some people who do it very well.
Right. And it still shocks me that companies haven't made multicultural marketing a priority, and they're still trying to paint their marketing with a very broad brush. And that's just not what consumers are expecting, especially after
Mhm.
2020. We've seen so many shifts in audience behavior since 2020, and we still have some brands just hanging on to that general market view, and then
Mhm.
they're completely alienating the niche audiences within their target base. And so, with that said, how do you define, Marcela, culture? And what do marketers need to consider when developing marketing strategies, specifically targeting Hispanics? And as you mentioned, since it's Hispanic Heritage Month, specifically targeting Hispanics, what do they need to think about with culture in their strategy?
That's a great question. So for me in our company, culture is the basis of what we do to define a target audience. One of the first things you learn as an advertiser or marketer is who is your audience. And so going deeper into that process, not only from the quantitative side, but the qualitative side as well is like really learning who that person is. But then when you add to that base the fact that we come from 22 different countries as Latinos, we have subcultures within the biggest culture. We also have different experiences coming into the United States. That the acculturation process is different. And so in our company, we actually divide that process in 4 or 5 different phases. And that's how we decide, what marketing tools and communication approach to take, depending on the acculturation level and of that specific target. And so culture to me is the culture and acculturation are the most important factors in reaching out to our target audience. And I just want to also mention, as you said, that a lot of companies are still not seeing the value of multicultural marketing or Hispanic market. And they're just not following the numbers, or they're not believing the numbers. And that's a scary place to be.
So, just for those who don't know, Marcella, can you unpack what it means when you say acculturation level?
Absolutely. So when you when anyone is not living or working in your culture of origin, whether it's your family culture or the country that you were born, you go through a process of acculturation, and that starts by feeling or being isolated. You're new in that group, whether it's a company, whether it's a country, whether it's a new city, and so you're still finding who you are and how things are done in that particular place. So that's the isolation process. As you spend more time or spend in that location and meet people from that location, you begin to adopt the culture, the language, the food, the different aspects of what that culture is. And so you can begin a process of acculturation, and until all the way out is assimilation. And we don't preach, if you will, assimilation. I am not assimilated to the US. I am acculturated, which means that I can navigate the US culture and my Colombian culture equally in the same way. I can totally, go to Colombia and feel at home, and I can be in the US and feel at home and understand what the two cultures bring to me, and how I can thrive in both cultures. So that's what acculturation is. The process, for some people, takes longer than others. It also depends on what age you move to another place, to another country. It also depends on how much language of the country that you're in, how much language you know. So that's the acculturation process.
Duration. And that's important to understand when you're developing your marketing strategies, because your messages are going to hit people at different points in
Hmm.
their acculturation journey. And so, which brings me to engagement. As a marketing team, and so for the marketers watching this program today, um, how important is it to you in your mind that your marketing team have a diverse representation of culture on it? so that you can produce authentic work.
Mhm.
How important is the diversity of the marketing department?
It is very important. It is very important. And even us at Culture Shift team, we're still, we don't believe at Culture Shift team that we are experts at any one thing. We believe that we are continuous learners and continuous being curious about what
Absolutely.
is happening, right? And so our vulnerable side is that we don't know it all. And that is a good place to be, right? Because then
It
you know
is.
that
Mhm.
you need more education. So we are a
Same.
diverse team. Yes, we are a diverse team. We continue to look for more diversity. When we don't have it internally, then we hire contractors that can help us with a specific target, a specific project, or a specific target audience. So we bring partners in or collaborators, etc. Why is it important? Because your experience and my experience are completely different. And we're both business owners, we're both women, we both have lived in Nashville, Tennessee. We're both minority owned, but your experience and mine are completely different. So you can create something that resonates to you. However, if I'm not present in the room, in the collaboration process, in the discussion process, you're leaving me completely out, and you are making assumptions about me and what I like and who I am. And so we have talked to this about this to clients and other collaborators, and we always know we can identify in what point of the process that target audience you're trying to reach was not present in the room from the
In the room.
beginning.
Yes,
Right.
it is clearly, it is very obvious. Mm.
Yeah, yes. Jacqueline, I also want to mention that it's not only bringing a Hispanic person or an African American person or a Muslim person, it is bringing someone who knows about marketing, because that's also the misconception, right? Someone who just happens to be from that culture doesn't mean that person understands what marketing is, right?
True.
And so we also had that happen when I first started Hispanic marketing group. Someone, agencies would say to me, oh, we had our cleaning person is from Puerto Rico, so
Oh,
we asked her to
gosh.
translate. Oh, this are true stories. We asked her to translate this, and I'm like, really? Does she also write your English copy for your general market ads? Right? And so so it's not because you can bring a Hispanic person and ask them, is this a correct translation? Yes, but that person understand marketing. There was another campaign also with 911. I still don't think they get it, but there was another campaign at one point that the literal translation in Spanish was, um, if you have a problem with your songwriting partner, don't call 911. And I thought, how many Latinos in Nashville are songwriters? You know,
Yes.
so do you know your audience? This is a perfect
Okay.
translation. But is
Yeah.
that the problem you think Latinos are having in
Is that
Nashville?
Hispanic Heritage Month, and so that kicks off on September 15th, and it runs through October 15th, and we know that it's that way in the middle of the month for a few different reasons. And so
Yeah.
what can you tell us about Hispanic Heritage Month, and what is the greatest significance of this observance in your opinion?
Okay. I have mixed feelings about Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
It is not something that is celebrated outside the United States. This is not something that I
That's true.
celebrated. I did not celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month when I was in Colombia. And so I didn't know Hispanic Heritage Month existed until I lived in Nashville, Tennessee. And I have lived in this country, in the United States, on and off since 1977. I spent a year in Miami in 1977, and then every summer in Miami thereafter, Atlanta. I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina from 1981 to 1984. So it wasn't until 1996 and thereabouts, maybe, that I was already in Nashville, that I started hearing about Hispanic Heritage Month, and I had no idea what it was. I also did not know what the Day of the Dead was, because we don't celebrate it in Colombia. So also that assumption that we Latinos, but I'll speak for myself, that I am going to be very happy because my heritage is celebrated, was not, I did not welcome. I thought, what is this about? Right. And so then I had to also acculturate to Hispanic Heritage Month and understand why it was being celebrated. I had to research it and understand that it starts with the Independence Day of Mexico, which again, I didn't know when it was. I didn't celebrate Independence Day of Mexico in Colombia. I celebrate July 20th, which is the Independence Day of Colombia, right? So then what you begin to when you begin to see is that all of a sudden I exist for marketers between September 15 and October 15. I also began to be asked to have all these speaking engagements for different groups and associations between September 15 and October 15. And I thought, oh, I don't exist the rest of the year. This is when I see TV spots in Spanish, or this is when I see all these other things for us, but not the rest of the year. So in a way, it's great that it's being celebrated because then our heritage comes up in different ways. But in another way, it's hard to get out of the parameters of this 4 weeks and tell marketers that we exist the rest of the year.
You know, how can brands do that in the right way? You know, how is it more than just a social media tile and we don't think about it anything past that? How can they do something that's meaningful, that really shows solidarity, but actionable solidarity with the Hispanic community?
Jacqueline, I really don't know, to be quite honest. I don't know how you take it from a um, how you take it from, oh, here's the moment for us to acknowledge that Hispanics exist and bring something valuable to our culture and our society and our, in our market, and not, and how do we extend that to the rest of the 12 months? I appreciate that anyone would want to appreciate and show value to my heritage and my culture. However, it really, to me, it feels that we will give you this part of the year and you should be happy about it, right? And we're going to lump you all in there. And so I have been asked and told, why don't you celebrate Mexican Independence Day? Well, I'm not Mexican. I can say, Happy Independence Day to Peruvians and Chileans and Guatemalans, but I am not from Mexico. And when I say that, people have said, what do you have against Mexicans? Nothing. I'm just not Mexican. And so right. And so what I also see, which is also something I don't agree with, and you said it at the beginning, is this superficial celebration of companies just putting things out in social media. And there's toolboxes that, oh, here it is. We've done it. We've done our part. But are you really taking the time from a product development or a marketing strategy to really know who we are? And we're very different also in not only from the different countries that we come from, but again, our acculturation process is different as well. And when you look at a market like Miami, where they don't consider themselves Hispanics, when we go to Miami and they consider themselves where they come from, Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, Brazilian, they don't call themselves Hispanics. And so do we really understand what that all means to us? So again, my feelings towards Hispanic Heritage Month are
So as we close here, Marcela, what 3 words do you want marketers to remember from our talk today? 3 words is hard because I'm sure it's a few that you would like. So what 3 words should marketers take away from today?
I'm going to give you one word 3 times because I really want to drill in what the focus of multicultural marketing is about. And it is culture, culture, culture. If you build your strategies around culture, it will make you dig deeper into who your target audience is. that's how we do it also at Culture Shift Team.
Culture, absolutely. I think you've nailed it. So the word for the day is culture. Marcela, thank you so much for joining me today. As always, I never want our conversations to end because we just have such rich interactions every time. If you want people to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Absolutely. They can visit cultureshifteam.com. I'm also on social media on Instagram and LinkedIn as Marcela Gomez. And yeah, I will be glad to talk to anyone or answer any questions around our conversation and more, anything else.
Excellent, excellent. So again, thank you for joining us today. And so for all of our viewers, if you'll take a moment and go to the Crayons and Marketers YouTube page, or you're watching this on YouTube, take a moment to share this episode during Hispanic Heritage Month and beyond. Like the channel so you can keep track. We're going to try to pick these back up and keep them going. I can't say every month, but more often than they're happening right now. So that's a commitment we've made. And so for more information about Crayons and Marketers, you can just head over to crayonsandmarketers.com. Take care.